Kissing someone is wonderful, and it's even better when they're alive. But how do you kiss another human? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you 7 tips on how to kiss someone. Tip number 1, never ask for consent. Asking for permission to kiss is the most beta thing you can do. Might as well throw some sand in a cooch, because believe me, it'll be dry. Now don't get me wrong, you gotta read the room. If her body language is saying, "Get away from me, freak," as she clutches her rape whistle, then kissing may not be worth getting an assault charge. But if she's smiling, laughing, slowly caressing her nipples, then it's probably a good sign that she's into you. Tip number 2, set the mood. The ambiance of a kiss is almost as important as the kiss itself. So make sure to dim the lights, play some music, and hide your Nezuko body pillow. You see, women just want to feel comfortable, so try to pick an environment where you have a little bit of privacy. Whether it's a cozy corner in a park, or a quiet coffee shop, or a boat in the middle of the ocean, where she can't say no.
Because of the implication.
Tip number 3, fresh breath. You gotta make sure your oral hygiene is on point before sucking another person's face. Ideally, you want to brush your teeth beforehand, but that's just unrealistic as you'll probably be on the move. So grab some mints, gum, Tic Tac, anything to improve your breath. Next, check your teeth. Just because your girl's a little hefty doesn't mean she's looking for leftovers. Tip number 4, get close. It's gonna be hard to make a move when you're 6 feet away. That's why you gotta be as close as possible before going in. The most awkward first kiss you can have is in the front seat of a car. Your gear shifter might as well be a dildo because it's a massive cock block. It pushes you just far enough away where your brother in the backseat whispers, "Cringe." Ideally, you want to be right in front of the person or shoulder to shoulder. The lean in is the scariest part, so you want to try to minimize that. Tip number 5, tease. Everybody likes to be teased. That's why porn usually has a story, because banging a middle-aged woman is nice, but it's even better when it's your friend's stepmom. The same goes for kissing. Don't blow your load trying to tongue punch the back of her throat immediately. Gradually work your way into it. Like once you start to kiss, pull back a little, then go back in, then pull back again. Make her yearn, desire, beg for you. Tip number 6, use your hands. Whenever you're doing anything sexual, you should always try to use your hands. Pull her in close, run your fingers through her hair, caress her neck in a non-strangling type of way. Something is better than nothing here, and touch will definitely add to the intimacy. Just whatever you do, don't start at the butt or tits. Like I mentioned earlier, you gotta tease your way into it. An instant titty grab is a surefire way. A shower is the only time you're getting wet this evening. Tip number 7, technique. When you lean in for a kiss, you only want to go in 90%. Going in 100% is why Bill Cosby's in prison. Well, that and the whole drugging people thing. Point is, that 10% is your stay at a jail consent card. Then once you're kissing, there are different techniques you can use to enhance the experience. Whether it's a French kiss, Eskimo kiss, Spider-Man kiss, or CPR kiss. Just remember, variation is key. Now with all those techniques being said, let me tell you about my worst and best first kiss. My worst was during my senior class trip to Disney World. I was catching feelings for this girl named Kristen, and all my homies are like, "Don't be a bitch, make a move." So while standing in line for the teacups, I say to Kristen, "Wait, I have a present for you," and it's in my mouth. Then I painfully leaned in to kiss her. Oh, it was horrible. No privacy, terrible buildup, and I'm pretty sure those garlic knots I ate earlier weren't helping my game. My best first kiss used all these techniques. I was chilling in the mall with a girl named Melanie. We were flirting for a while, but this was the first time we had some alone time. So I take her over to these bleachers that overlook the food court. Right before we sat down, I popped in one of those Listerine acid tabs. You remember those tiny little sheets that would dissolve in your tongue? Anyway, we continue to flirt when I touch my back pocket. I'm like, "Oh, before I forget, I got you something." So I stand her up, put her back against the railing and say, "Do you trust me?" She hesitates and says, "Yes." So I say, "Close your eyes." Then I lean in 90%, interlink both of our hands, and just like that, fireworks. So those are my tips for kissing another human. If I miss any, please let me know down in the comments. And just remember, a kiss will make your day, but anal will make your whole week. Titties. Big, floppy titties. Whether you're gay, straight, whatever Sam Smith is, everybody loves titties. But how to get your mitts on a pair of fun bags? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you 7 steps on how to touch your first boobie. Step number 1, hide your boner. You see, when you're young, you'll be getting a lot of NRBs, or no reason boner, where you get rock hard even when you're not thinking of anything sexual. And you can't be walking around with a throbbing Dwayne the Cock Johnson. So how to get rid of a stiffy? Well, you could think of your grandma rubbing mayonnaise on her inner thigh, but that's still going to take a minimum of 30 seconds, and you don't got that kind of time. So instead, you're just gonna have to use your pants. Just stick your beaver basher up through your waistband and choke that shit like it's Epstein in a prison cell. Step number 2, try not to be creepy. When you're horny, it's like there's a cloud in your brain and you don't think correctly. As Robin Williams once said, God gave man a penis and a brain, but unfortunately not enough blood flow to run them both at the same time. So try your absolute hardest not to look at their tits. You see, boobs are like the sun. You can only stare at them directly for a few seconds, but if you put on sunglasses, you can stare at them as much as you want. Step number 3, wardrobe. wardrobe. Even if you look like Post Malone's virgin cousin, a simple, well-fitting outfit can make you look like $1 million, maybe even $1 billion. And even if you're not up to date on the latest fashion trends, I got you covered with some simple go-tos. First, make sure your outfit fits correctly. Baggy shirt may feel comfortable, but it screams you got bigger tits than her. Next, get yourself a pair of white sneakers. Is white the dumbest color a sneaker could be? Of course. But women aren't into practical things like cargo pants or honesty. They're into fake things. And what's faker than pretending you need to use the bathroom just to scrub the puddle stains off your new kicks? Lastly, you need some accessories. Whether it's a watch, sunglasses, lowercase T necklace, whatever. Something that makes you stand out in a crowd. Just whatever you do, don't buy designer clothes. Buying a Gucci belt is like saying GG's to your wallet. Step number 4. Approach girls. Easier said than done, I know. But at the end of the day, people always appreciate when you approach them. Shows confidence. You could sit around all day imagining what your life could be like together, or you could grow a pair and start a conversation. Easiest way is just to talk shit. Whether it's talking shit about your surroundings. Is that the new iPhone? Damn, those sweatshop kids work hard. Their appearance. Why do your shoes say all over them? Or talking shit about others. Do you think Mr. Murphy's a pedophile? What? No. Then why did he write D on my paper and ask to see me after class? I think he's gonna try something. Step number 5. Tease. Women love to be teased, but don't go too hard in the paint. Making dead baby jokes right after the miscarriage might come off a little insensitive. Just start small, like if she's wearing cowboy boots, give her the nickname Cowgirl, or if she says something sweet, call her Sugar Tits. Just try to make her feel comfortable. Then move the conversation to be more sexual related. Again, don't start with, what's your thoughts on tossing salad in the morning? Work the conversation there slowly. Then, once you developed a rapport, it's time to move on to step 6. Get them to a different location. This might be the most important step. You need to move from school friend or work friend to just friends. You see, friends can hang out anywhere, and it's a lot easier to make a move in the bleachers rather than on the field. Just try to be casual about it. You don't want it to seem like a date. Again, women don't want honesty. They want plausible deniability in case it doesn't go well. What? I just thought he was being nice walking me to my car. Okay, I guess we're kissing now. Step number 7. Initiate physical contact. And no, I'm not talking about a surprise titty grab. Do something cute like grabbing her hand while walking through a crowd, or show off your fingering skills by having a thumb war. Once the physical barrier is broken, it'll make her feel more comfortable with you and increase the chances of intimacy. Either that, or she'll file sexual assault charges against you, ruining your reputation and any future job prospects. It's a gamble, I know, but remember, you're always one laugh away from either motorboating or being charged with groping. So those are my tips on how to honk your first pair of fun bags. Probably weren't the tips you were expecting, but they're the tips you deserve. And just remember, even if she says no, you still have options. Kidnapping? What? No, paying for it. Bottom, where I talk about people I've never met and say if they're a top or bottom. Streamer edition! Starting out with Dr. Disrespect. Calls himself a doctor with no credentials. Bet the woke community loves him as he chooses his own pronouns. Disrespect is like Family Guy. I loved it as a kid, but I think it's time to drop the character. You bled a ton of money out of it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Aside from that mustache. All that mustache does is telepathically tell your wife, it's for the money. Speaking of his wife, Dr. Disrespect did one of the most heinous and despicable things any human could do. Cheat on her? What? No. Make an apology video about cheating on his wife. It's unforgivable. And again, not the cheating part. Because we all know that's not cool, but no guy watching this has any idea the temptation you must face. I can barely control myself in front of a 7 with Deep V, let alone being able to pick whatever ethnicity or cup size I want at the swipe of a finger. So don't let some Hub Premium subscriber sit here and say, oh my god, how could he? How could he not? But how is that anyone else's business besides you and your family? Did your wife try to guilt trip you into doing it on stream? If that's the case, then like your mistress, tell her to get f***ed. She has every right to be upset, but forcing you to potentially ruin your career because her feelings were hurt is wrong too. I mean, if you're gonna do it, then at least give it an accurate title like When Post-Nut Clarity Hits Hard. So sorry, Doc, but I'm downvoting you to bottom. Next up, Tommy in... Whoa, wait, how old is this kid? Oh, he's 19. If it's good enough for Leo, it's good enough for me. Tommy is basically the Michael Cera of streamers, proving you don't need talent to be successful, you just need to be relatable. And what's more relatable to his fan base than being a pasty, awkward, cringy teenager? The only difference being Tommy is rich. He's basically living a dream. I'm sorry, I meant to say living in dream. Probably testing out that backdoor server. Butt jokes. Just like Technoblade, they never get old. Luckily, Tommy's an Aries, so he can't get cancer. But he can fall victim to a thought with no gag reflex. So remember, Tommy, hoes are like creepers. They randomly show up, causing you to blow your load explode and make you drop all your treasure. That's why you need to keep your Ender Dragon in check, because the last thing you want is to be defeated by a minor. Nether right? Keep that bottom tight, buddy. Next up, Moist Critical. What is it about Moist that makes everyone love him? Seriously, I want to know. Is it his simple wardrobe, his monotonous voice, his breathtaking caterpillars draped around those I want you to come first eyes? What is it? Everything I've learned about entertainment doesn't apply to this guy. He puts no effort into his appearance, thumbnails, videos, and still makes absolute bank. Like, how are you gonna post the same picture of your face with the title, I'm gonna tickle it, and get 1.8 million views in a day? It doesn't make sense. Is it the fact that in this current landscape of echo chambers and people having a hard time finding reliable news sources, he appears to be trustworthy and well-informed when his research only consists of 8 minutes of reading a Reddit discussion thread? Because if that's the case, then is he just copying the same formula 24-hour news cycles use of spoon-feeding you clickbait topics and hoping getting emotional reaction out of you in order to generate as much revenue as possible, while not being held accountable for the misinformation he might spread to an impressionable fan base? No, Charlie's my friend. He wouldn't do that. And admitting he's wrong would be admitting I'm wrong, and I can't be wrong. Wait. Charlie's under 5'7"? Ugh. Why did I spend all this time researching him when by law he has to be a bottom? Next up, XQC. The fact he made anything out of his life with a stuttering problem is impressive. Really think about his options at 12 years old. It's either streaming or fistful of pills from his mom's medicine cabinet. Now recently, XQC has come under fire for making a React video about war-torn citizens also coming under fire. And all I have to say is, about time. Why should Boeing and Lockheed Martin be the only ones to profit off dead children? It's not fair. Their dead little feeble bodies don't belong to anyone. I mean, America was built off exploiting tragedy for profit. Heck, the news does it every day and they're rated PG. What's the difference? Is it the whole $100 million to promote gambling to children? That's where we draw the line? Really? Because it sounds like you're jelly of his business strategy of promoting gambling to kids, have them suffer a crippling addiction, turn to the army for guidance, only to have them ridiculed by the person that got them there in the first place. Oh God, Billy, no! Cringe. But trying to ruin more kids than Planned Parenthood is a clear sign that you're a bottom. Next up, Hassan. I thought liberals supposed to be nice, not pretentious assholes. Hassan is like the Bill Maher of the streamer community and thinks anyone that disagrees with him is hard R retarded. Hassan is basically a mega pastor. He preaches about generosity and giving while using your money to buy mansions and luxury cars. You see, Hassan might want to live liberally, but what gets him hard is conservatism. Libby might get you genuine friends who frequently put your self-interest above their own, but Repubby gets you a Porsche. And who needs loyalty when you always have your girl's back door? So stop pretending you're a top when we all know you're a bottom. Next up, Saikuno. Why does something seem so off about his face? It's like he has permanent, I just caught my girl blowing another guy face. The only thing good about his face is they can choose whatever gender they want. You know what I mean? Like, imagine being born a girl but looking like Papa Meat. Ugh, how is she gonna pull off bangs with those cheeks? Saikuno is like the opposite of Hassan. He comes off like a bottom, but he be topping it. Next up, Tyler 1. He's like a preteen. He gets overly emotional about things that don't matter and likes to show off pics of his titties. Tyler strikes me as the type of guy to blame the girl for him coming too quickly. This is your fault if anything. Now, go think about what you did, but don't touch yourself to the thought of another man! My favorite clip of Tyler is...
Oh, he tried to do
what? That guy did the skip!
He's trolling.
He did the skip! What the f***
Get a life, you loser. He's covering all bases. If he wins, you suck, and if he loses, it's only because you're a loser with no life. Genius way to protect that fragile ego. But just remember, Tyler, no matter how loud you scream, it's not gonna make your dad hug you. So put on a singlet and get on the bottom. Next up, Asmongold. Asmongold. Now, knowing nothing about him and basing this solely off appearance, I'm getting huge I stalk my ex-girlfriend vibes here. Possibly some gaslighting of, if you want to get tagged in the video, how about you show me some love? But let's look what he does for a living and puts out low-effort stream clips for money. I'm telling you guys, if I ever get like this, please melon ball my eyes out. I'm serious. I respect he's earning a living for him and his captured family, but I just find something so repulsive about people that half-ass entertainment. So Asmon, like your charity stream, I'm gonna take a little off the top and give you what's left on the bottom. Next up, Aiden Ross. When not giving Tate handies for trafficking victims, Aiden can be seen... what does he do? I'm gonna guess his parents left him a massive inheritance as he plays.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
And Aiden, how you gonna brag about banging a corn star? Manipulating a broken girl with a history of trauma? How did you do it? You know, it's not a status symbol if she trades an 8-ball for your salad. So I hope you wore a hefty bag before throwing it in that dumpster, you bottom ass. Next up, Pearl Necklace Face Sniper Wolf. I thought you were just doing guys. Well, considering how hard she Jack's films, I just assumed she was. Besides, you can never tell nowadays. Now, Sniper Wolf is beginning a lot of heat recently, and no, I'm not talking about the heat from the frothy man juice she's getting in every thumbnail. I'm talking about giving out the home address of one of her enemies to a rabid fan base. I mean, it's not like any of them would do something irrational in order to gain the attention of a girl they idolize. No. I'm sure none of them have pent-up sexual frustration and are looking for justifiable reasons to act on their violent urges. Besides, who cares about a celebrity's privacy anyway?
Please respect my privacy, respect any other YouTuber's privacy, because it's hard to believe, but you know, we're people just like you, like exactly like you.
Oof, just like Germa's face, that clip did not age well. So Sniper, I think it's time you get in the bottom, like the dead fish you are. Next up, Tim the Tap Man, who out of everyone on this list has overcome the most adversity. He's a chubby bald ginger. You can't get dealt worse cards than those. Still, he managed to make something out of his life, even if it's screaming at 12-year-olds. But even with the occasional outburst, Tim seems like a nice guy. Sure, he sells drugs to kids, but they should have known, gingers can't be trusted. I mean, he's literally a walking red flag. That being said, Tim did one of the bravest things a person can do and defended Nick Merckx after he was called the N-word for white people. That's right, transphobic. And supporting a friend when it doesn't help your career is something I can respect. So even though you're not getting into heaven, I'll let you get on top. Next up, Ms. Kiff, the man who got butthurt when someone cheated on his game show. A game show that he stole. It's just, are you smarter than a 5th grader? Does he not see the irony here? Upset at someone cheating on a game show that he stole? But you know, everybody steals content, and The Miz isn't a bad guy. Recently, he got offered a deal to go play Fortnite in Saudi Arabia, but he did the right thing and declined after the event got leaked and received backlash. I mean, that's gotta count for something. He could have came out from the start and said, hey, stop hate tweeting me from your sweatshop-made phones, you hypocrites. But instead, he waited to see how his fans reacted before making a decision. That's the corporate manufactured sellout you want. And don't feel bad about the Saudi deal. He's already got a Counter-Strike 20 lined up in Russia. So have fun sulking in economy as The Miz is chilling in first class. But rich or not, you're still a bottom to me, buddy. Next up, Jay Schlatt. I'm shocked someone who turns to anger and violence considers himself a Republican. Schlatt just thinks a certain percent of the population should go extinct, while at the same time seeing no historical comparisons. Jokes aside, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the big guy. Because in a world where everyone's tiptoeing around what the correct thing to say is, Schlatt keeps it real. Sure, the a-hole side of him frequently takes over, but Schlatt is something you corporate monkeys aren't. Authentic. When he's not shilling the product of the video. Pay-to-win games, gun violence, $25 keychains? There's almost nothing he won't promote. But you can't deny he did it his way. So Schlatt, for you, I'd open up my Twin Towers and let you park your plane 9, maybe 11 times into my ground zero. Alright, that feels like enough streamers for one video. If you want to see more streamers get roasted, then check out my Smash or Pass vid where I say even meaner things. And to everyone I made fun of, I just want to let you know, you're not special. Well, everyone except for Tyler, who I'm pretty sure has the tism. Who are the worst types of kids in high school? Is it ghetto girls? Hoop earrings, fake nails, head movements like a rooster when they're upset? Usually called white names, just pronounced poorly? No, it's Stephanie. Talks trash about other girls' hair when hers looks like she got it from My Autistic Pony. Thinks they're hot when the only thing flaming is that allergic to latex cooter. Is it Discord mods? Kids with an overly inflated ego from having the tiniest bit of power. They think they're cool when they're really just an Uncle Tom for a successful YouTuber. Jay Schlatt doesn't ask twice. Okay. Is it the gym rat? First kid you've ever seen with back knee? Refuses to tilt while walking through the hallway? Grunts while working out to let you know who's the alpha? Is it the teacher's pet? You know, the kid that raises their hand at the end of class to tell the teacher she forgot to sign homework? I mean, have you ever wanted to bully a kid more? How dare you make it so I have 15 minutes less to play Minecraft?
But homework will help us learn.
No. You're about to learn today, sweet cheeks. Is it my first facial hair? The kid that thinks he's a man because he can now grow a few whiskers above his lip? Thinks he looks like Zac Efron when he really looks like... Get in the back of the van, John. Is it bullies? The kids who pick on others in order to deflect from their own insecurities. Remember, they're not beating you up for being gay. They're just trying to beat the gay out of themselves. Is it the person most likely to join a cult? You know the people that idolize a narcissist whose only goals are money, power, and to sleep with underage girls who can keep a secret? These kids just want a community to belong to, which comes at the low cost of their silent obedience. Is it pork chops? The greasy walrus-like creatures that have completely given up on their bodies. Tells people body shaming is wrong, asks to use the elevator during fire drills, gets upset when only one butt cheek fits in their chair. These kids are barely even people. They're basically just flesh vacuums for overprocessed food. Is it the artsy kids who create gorgeous pieces of art that will later be stolen by AI programs? These guys are like Heath Ledger. They have tons of talent, but they're too busy sleeping. Is it the army recruit? The kid that judges what women do with their bodies while simultaneously letting the government decide what's done with his. Talks about made-up threats to our country like wokeism and CRT while disregarding the military-industrial complex. Convinces himself he's not a scared teenager who doesn't know what to do with his life and is just looking for someone to make decisions for him. No, it's just I love America too damn much! Is it the butterface? The girl that would be a 10 if it wasn't for that Down syndrome Bella Ramsey face. You go from hard to flaccid every time she turns around. Your guy friends bust your chops for hitting on her. The only thing you care about is busting on her chops. Is it the overachiever? The kid in multiple honor classes, sports, and clubs. Also known as the kid with Asian parents. They're always studying for exams like their life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. Is it the secretly racist kids? Listens to Tucker Carlson. Calls anyone that disagrees with him sheep. Favorite phrase is I'm not racist, but always mentions our culture is at stake, when what they really mean is there's a few new black people in town. What is happening to America? Is it the shy 10? The quiet girl that doesn't realize she hit the genetic lottery during puberty. Her fun bags are at max, and her trunk is so big, when she sits down, she gets taller. She tends to keep to herself, which is perfect, because that means less competition. Now is the time to make offhanded comments about her appearance that will result in years, if not decades, of unresolved insecurities. Hey, your dimples are really big. Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad thing, it's just odd. Lower her already low self-esteem so she feels like you're the best she can do. Is it the student who brags about sleeping with a teacher? Kids can't keep a secret, let alone one as juicy as pork and Miss Sullivan. Now sure, she's a pedo who deserves to be tarred and feathered, but I'm not gonna tell my homie that. Why give him childhood trauma that will impact all of his future relationships when I can give him high fives instead? Is it that kid that died drinking and driving? You know the kid that used to bully you, and now everyone's pretending he's a saint? Halo around his portrait at the funeral? Really? 11 shots of Jaeger, driving 100 miles an hour with no seatbelt, and that's God's chosen child? Okay. Now, like Muslims on 9/11, you gotta pretend to be sad, when you're really just fighting the urge to giggle. Is it special ed kids? You know the kids that can't take a piss without biting their own tongue? They're always disrupting class at inappropriate times. Everyone, I know today is gonna be tough, knowing Billy died in a drinking and driving accident, but it's important we get through this together. Is it the talentless influencer? The kids who have no discernible talent and just react to other people's creativity, also known as sniper wolf simps. Did I accidentally give out the home address of an individual I've convinced my fan base is trying to ruin my career? Whoopsie. Is it the class clown? The kid who brings joy and laughter to an otherwise boring geometry class, willing to take all the punishment from the teacher just to entertain the masses. The OG homie who for a brief moment in time makes you forget about ending yourself. You are lucky to even be in a room with them, you talentless monkey! Is it the gossip queen? Girls whose sole purpose is to talk shit about others. You see, gossip is like currency in high school. The more life-ending a secret is, the richer you are. Don't believe me? Imagine finding out Stacy gave a blowy to the basketball coach. Yeah, you don't think you'd have a little power over her life after that? What I'm really saying is, we all know mental warfare is worse than physical, right? So in a way, these gossip biddies are mental serial killers. Is it the kid that always uses the term cringe, has no discernible talent, and broadly uses the term cringe for anything he doesn't like? You know the kid that doesn't take any creative risks and just shits over other people's hard work?
I have a dream!
Ugh, cringe. Is it the overdosers? The kids with dark circles under their eyes who are slowly developing Parkinson's. Only talents are finding a vein and sharing with others. Is it the token black kid? You know the one black kid in an all-white school? Has to deal with people saying he's not black enough or acts too white. Mom is a pharmacist for CVS and dad gets angry sometimes. Is it the Adderall junkies? The kids that were given a 50 milligram stimulant because their parents were too lazy to talk to them. Eyes look like they popped to E, can't stop going to the bathroom, doesn't hide when there's a school shooter because they're too busy focusing on the sweat bead going down Miss Sullivan's chest. Is it tech support? The kid you go to whenever you get viruses in your computer from watching too much Teen Titans corn.
Yo, you really like Starfire, don't you?
Listen, how about you fix my computer before I have to explain to my sister what post-nut clarity is? Is it the rich kid who doesn't think he's rich, drives a brand new BMW to school, tries to relate to your problems, but is so out of touch with the struggle that he just comes off as pretentious?
Dude, I think I have to go back to the foster home.
Bro, give me a sec. I'm fighting Vin Diesel if he was the size of a baby. Woo! This AI stuff is getting wild. Is it the prankster? The kid that releases 3 pigs in his school with the numbers 1, 2, and 4 on them, just for the lols? Is it the kids who always talk in internet slang? No cap, bro be simping over my drip.
That boomer just be jelly that your Riz be fire, fam.
You know, you both use a lot of lingo from not getting laid. Is it the smart kid who never applies himself? Brags how he aces every exam despite never studying. Thinks life is going to be as easy as high school, but falls into a deep depression by age 23. Develops a substance abuse problem and eventually realizes ignorance is bliss. this. Is it the ghost? And no, I'm not talking about the secretly racist kid. I'm talking about the kid who's always disappearing from school, only showing up when there's a test, pizza party, or fight. Since Stacy is pregnant, does that make this a 2-on-1? Is it the screw-ups? The kids that are always screwing up their lives. All the opportunities in the world, and their brain is like, time to ruin this. Is it the wildlife enthusiast? Spends most time outdoors, thinks shaving is unnatural, feeds wild deer around campus, secretly hopes to get humped to death by a dolphin. I'm just glad you're happy. Is it the horned-up athlete, who you're pretty sure joined the wrestling team so he has an excuse to get handsy? You want to call him out, but you're too afraid of being labeled a bigot, even though you're pretty sure ball tickling isn't a pin technique. Is it my first couple? You know the two kids that are mainlining the most powerful drug of all? Love. Nothing will make a person dumber than being in love. Rationality is not blowing you, so it's out the window. At first, you'll think these kids are cute, but very quickly move to, get off my fucking locker! Oh, Becky, you could at least wipe first. Is it the kid who's cool with everyone, but close to no one? They're like trash cans. They're everywhere, but no one ever thinks about them. Is it the letdowns? The kids you think have your back, when really, they got their own problems to worry about. So those are all the worst types of kids in high school. If you like this madness, check out my other worst kids in high school video, where I go even harder. You're gonna have to take one if you want to make it. I love it when you cry. Special thanks to my homie Tokman for collabing on this one. And just remember, Jay Schlatt doesn't ask twice. Who are the worst types of kids in high school? Is it the plastics, also known as basic bitches, armed with a Frappuccino, iPhone, Gucci handbag, and Lululemon yoga pants that makes her ass look way too big? Their ultimate goal is to be a housewife, with a retirement plan of selling their used tissues on OnlyFans. Is it the wannabe influencer, always making TikToks, especially in places they aren't supposed to be filming in? Will always remind you of that one video that got 3 million views when they averaged 200 on every other, has given up school and all future job prospects in the hopes of getting railed in an influencer mansion. You're gonna have to take one if you want to make it. I love it when you cry. Is it boys? Born with the perfect jawline, get all their advice from Andrew Tate. Vocab consists of did you smash, bro, and no homo. If they made a tier list, it would be men, house cat, then women. Is it fake depressed people? The people that base their identity on one Billie Eilish song. Self-diagnosed with a mental illness, threatens to kill themselves for attention, can't go to therapy because no one understands them. Compares their life to actual underprivileged people. Spaghetti again, Mom? Jesus, I feel like this is Ukraine! Is it the girl that you're pretty sure is pregnant? You know the girl that all of a sudden starts wearing a hoodie, even though it's 82 degrees outside? You're not sure if she has a baby bump, or if she's been pounding some KFC recently. Is it weebs? Kids who feverishly masturbate to Japanese culture. They insist they've never heard of hentai, when we all know they have a topless photo of Starfire in the room. You'll catch these guys Naruto running to class, pretending to use a sword, and humping their Nezuko body pillow during study hall. Is it the Snoop Dogs? Always high on something, speaks in metaphors, relaxed to the point of narcolepsy. You always catch them vaping in places they aren't supposed to. The bathroom, the hallway, girls' locker room. Them titties be fire. Now don't confuse these people with pill heads who started vaping in middle school and have gradually escalated to harder drugs. Weed is like a hand job to them. If it's the only thing offered, they'll take it, but they're really looking for something that'll blow their minds. Is it Miss Daddy Issues? Always comes to school with a different hair color, typically has tattoos and piercings, only dates guys who are out of prison or on their way there, and most importantly, willing to do anal by the second date. Is it cops pretending to be students to bust international drug crimes? You know the guys that transfer to your school midway through the year, are clearly in their mid-30s, and always ask, where's the party at? You can tell it's them because they always use outdated slang like this party is dope and you guys don't use horse tranquilizers? Surprise Pikachu face. Is it that one Asian girl? You know the chick that would normally be a 6 but she comes off as a 9 because she seems exotic? Now sure, if you put your hand over her face, she has the body of a 12-year-old boy, but you're Catholic so you're probably into that. Is it the foreign exchange student? Speaking of exotic, now we have someone who doesn't even speak the language. ¿De dónde está el condom? I'm sorry, I don't speak your ooga booga language. Now do you want this green card or not? Is it Elon Musk fanboys? Always saying, no, this billionaire's different. He really cares about me and the environment. Now, sure, he barely pays any taxes, accepts government subsidies, and supports political candidates who don't believe in climate change or queers, but that doesn't matter because he's an advocate for free speech. That's why he bans journalists that make critical remarks about him. That's freedom to say, I don't want to hear you speak. Is it the kid that wishes he was black? Wears swag hat, drops the hard R, comes to school with a gun that he barely knows how to use? Billy, no! jail?
Well, shit. At least they got me some prison cred.
Is it the die-hard sports fan? The guy who insults you for liking Star Wars, yet has an entire room dedicated to sweaty men? Sports fanatics basically fantasize about something they're not. A rich, athletic, probably black guy who occasionally smashes an Armenian pig. Is it the two gay kids you keep trying to hook up because they're gay, but they keep telling you just because we're gay doesn't mean we're going to be into each other, but then they eventually hook up at the end of the year? Those queers make me so happy. Is it the wannabe streamer who tends to be male, but occasionally can be a depressed female looking for anything to give her an identity? They like to brag how they're an affiliate earning money, yet every time you turn them on, they just have 3 viewers. Like, bitch, the only one sending you donos is your mom who just wants you out of the house. Is it the school shooter who says ominous things when he's bullied, like, one day you'll be sorry? Doodles pics of him burying classmates. Has a mother who claims her child is an angel and a father who beats him for, quote, looking too queer. Make sure to give this kid some snacks. That way, when he goes postal, he'll have a sweet memory of you. Is it the guy that takes sports way too seriously?
Your ass is mine, Billy.
Chill, Tommy. It's just badminton.
That's what losers say.
Is it the average white boy who wants to kill himself? You know, the kid that doesn't excel in anything and is just in the middle of the pack? Dreams of smashing dimes at his school, but biggest fear is talking to them? Something tells me there's a few of them watching this video right now. And my advice to them would be killing yourself is never the answer. Unless you're under 5'6", then might as well click that restart button. Is it the letter kids? You know, the LGBTQ7 Batman symbol? The ones that always preach tolerance as they bully anyone that disagrees with them. Say Caitlyn Jenner's a hero or I'm flagging all your TikTok content. Is it thoughts? Girls who always sleep around, wear hoop earrings, crop tops, ripped jeans. Vocab primarily consists of saying low-key and dead ass. These chicks are basically spicy hot Cheetos. You'll get the urge to put one in your mouth, but shortly after, you'll be covered in a fiery itch. Is it the ugly girl who claims men objectify her, always complaining that men eye rape her when any guy would rather get an extra circumcision than stick it in her bear trap? I'm talking about you, Becky, you fat slut! So there you have it, all the worst kids in high school. Special thanks to Birdie for collabing on this one, and just remember, Ludwig loves it when you beg. Oh, yeah. Who are the worst types of kids in high school? Is it ghetto girls? Hoop earrings, fake nails, head movements like a rooster when they're upset? Usually called white names just pronounced poorly? No, it's Stephanie. Talks trash about other girls' hair when hers looks like she got it from My Autistic Pony. Thinks they're hot when the only thing flaming is that allergic to latex cooter. Is it Discord mods? Kids with an overly inflated ego from having the tiniest bit of power. They think they're cool when they're really just an Uncle Tom for a successful YouTuber. Jay Schlatt doesn't ask twice. Okay. Is it the gym rat? First kid you've ever seen with back knee. Refuses to tilt while walking through the hallway. Grunts while working out to let you know who's the alpha. Is it the teacher's pet? You know, the kid that raises their hand at the end of class to tell the teacher she forgot to sign homework? I mean, have you ever wanted to bully a kid more? How dare you make it so I have 15 minutes less to play Minecraft?
But homework will help us learn.
No, you're about to learn today, sweet cheeks. Is it my first facial hair? The kid that thinks he's a man because he can now grow a few whiskers above his lip. Thinks he looks like Zac Efron when he really looks like, get in the back of the van, John. Is it bullies? The kids who pick on others in order to deflect from their own insecurities. Remember, they're not beating you up for being gay. They're just trying to beat the gay out of themselves. Is it the person most likely to join a cult? You know, the people that idolize a narcissist whose only goals are money, power, and to sleep with underage girls who can keep a secret? These kids just want a community to belong to, which comes at the low cost of their silent obedience. Is it pork chops? The greasy walrus-like creatures that have completely given up on their bodies. Tells people body shaming is wrong, asks to use the elevator during fire drills, gets upset when only one butt cheek fits in their chair. These kids are barely even people. They're basically just flesh vacuums for overprocessed food. Is it the artsy kids who create gorgeous pieces of art that will later be stolen by AI programs? These guys are like Heath Ledger. They have tons of talent, but they're too busy sleeping. Is it the army recruit? The kid that judges what women do with their bodies while simultaneously letting the government decide what's done with his. Talks about made-up threats to our country like wokeism and CRT while disregarding the military-industrial complex. Convinces himself he's not a scared teenager who doesn't know what to do with his life and is just looking for someone to make decisions for him. No, it's just I love America too damn much! Is it the butterface? The girl that would be a 10 if it wasn't for that Down syndrome Bella Ramsey face. You go from hard to flaccid every time she turns around. Your guy friends bust your chops for hitting on her. The only thing you care about is busting on her chops. Is it the overachiever? The kid in multiple honor classes, sports, and clubs. Also known as the kid with Asian parents. They're always studying for exams like their life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. Is it the secretly racist kids? Listens to Tucker Carlson. Calls anyone that disagrees with them sheep. Favorite phrase is I'm not racist, but always mentions our culture is at stake when what they really mean is there's a few new black people in town. What is happening to America? Is it the shy 10? The quiet girl that doesn't realize she hit the genetic lottery during puberty. Her fun bags are at max, and her trunk is so big when she sits down, she gets taller. She tends to keep to herself, which is perfect, because that means less competition. Now is the time to make offhanded comments about her appearance that will result in years, if not decades, of unresolved insecurities. Hey, your dimples are really big. Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad thing, it's just odd. Lower her already low self-esteem so she feels like you're the best she can do. Is it the student who brags about sleeping with the teacher? Kids can't keep a secret, let alone one as juicy as Pork and Miss Sullivan. Now sure, she's a pedo who deserves to be tarred and feathered, but I'm not gonna tell my homie that. Why give him childhood trauma that will impact all of his future relationships when I can give him high fives instead? Is it that kid that died drinking and driving? You know, the kid that used to bully you, and now everyone's pretending he's a saint? Halo around his portrait at the funeral? Really? 11 shots of Jaeger, driving 100 miles an hour with no seatbelt, and that's God's chosen child? Okay. Now, like Muslims on 9/11, you gotta pretend to be sad, when you're really just fighting the urge to giggle. Is it special ed kids? You know, the kids that can't take a piss without biting their own tongue? They're always disrupting class at inappropriate times. Everyone, I know today is gonna be tough, knowing Billy died in a drinking and driving accident, but it's important we get through this together. Is it the talentless influencer? The kids who have no discernible talent and just react to other people's creativity, also known as sniper wolf simps. Did I accidentally give out the home address of an individual I've convinced my fan base is trying to ruin my career? Whoopsie. Is it the class clown? The kid who brings joy and laughter to an otherwise boring geometry class, willing to take all the punishment from the teacher just to entertain the masses. The OG homie who for a brief moment in time makes you forget about ending yourself. You are lucky to even be in a room with them, you talentless monkey! Is it the gossip queen? Girls whose sole purpose is to talk shit about others. You see, gossip is like currency in high school. And the more life-ending a secret is, the richer you are. Don't believe me? Imagine finding out Stacy gave a blowy to the basketball coach. Yeah, you don't think you'd have a little power over her life after that? What I'm really saying is, we all know mental warfare is worse than physical, right? So in a way, these gossip biddies are mental serial killers. Is it the kid that always uses the term cringe, has no discernible talent, and broadly uses the term cringe for anything he doesn't like? You know, the kid that doesn't take any creative risks and just shits over other people's hard work?
I have a dream.
Ugh, cringe. Is it the overdosers? The kids with dark circles under their eyes who are slowly developing Parkinson's. Only talents are finding a vein and sharing with others. Is it the token black kid? You know, the one black kid in an all-white school? Has to deal with people saying he's not black enough or acts too white. Mom is a pharmacist for CVS and dad gets angry sometimes. Is it the Adderall junkies? The kids that were given a 50-milligram stimulant because their parents were too lazy to talk to them. Eyes look like they popped E, can't stop going to the bathroom, doesn't hide when there's a school shooter because they're too busy focusing on the sweat bead going down Miss Sullivan's chest. Is it tech support? The kid you go to whenever you get viruses in your computer from watching too much Teen Titans corn.
Yo, you really like Starfire, don't you?
Listen, how about you fix my computer before I have to explain to my sister what post-nut clarity is? Is it the rich kid who doesn't think he's rich, drives a brand new BMW to school, tries to relate to your problems, but is so out of touch with the struggle that he just comes off as pretentious?
Dude, I think I have to go back to the foster home.
Bro, give me a sec. I'm fighting Vin Diesel if he was the size of a baby. Woo! This AI stuff is getting wild. Is it the prankster? The kid that releases 3 pigs into school with the numbers 1, 2, and 4 on them, just for the lols? Is it the kids who always talk in internet slang? No cap, bro be simping over my drip.
That boomer just be jelly that your Riz be fire, fam.
You know, you both use a lot of lingo from not getting laid. Is it the smart kid who never applies himself? Brags how he aces every exam despite never studying. Thinks life is going to be as easy as high school, but falls into a deep depression by age 23. Develops a substance abuse problem and eventually realizes ignorance is bliss. Is it the ghost? And no, I'm not talking about the secretly racist kid. I'm talking about the kid who's always disappearing from school, only showing up when there's a test, pizza party, or fight. Since Stacy is pregnant, does that make this a 2-on-1? Is it the screw-ups? The kids that are always screwing up their lives. All the opportunities in the world, and their brain is like, time to ruin this. Is it the wildlife enthusiast? Spends most time outdoors, thinks shaving is unnatural, feeds wild deer around campus, secretly hopes to get humped to death by a dolphin. I'm just glad you're happy. Is it the horned up athlete, who you're pretty sure joined the wrestling team so he has an excuse to get handsy? You want to call him out, but you're too afraid of being labeled a bigot, even though you're pretty sure ball tickling isn't a pin technique. Is it my first couple? You know, the 2 kids that are mainlining the most powerful drug of all? Love. Nothing will make a person dumber than being in love. Rationality is not blowing you, so it's out the window. At first, you'll think these kids are cute, but very quickly move to, get off my fucking locker! Oh, Becky, you could at least wipe first. Is it the kid who's cool with everyone, but close to no one? They're like trash cans. They're everywhere, but no one ever thinks about them. Is it the letdowns? The kids you think have your back, when really, they got their own problems to worry about.
No one told you life was gonna be this way.
So those are all the worst types of kids in high school. If you like this madness, check out my other worst kids in high school video, where I go even harder. You're gonna have to take one if you want to make it. I love it when you cry. Special thanks to my homie Tokman for collabing on this one. And just remember, J-Schlatt doesn't ask twice. Drinking and driving, getting your RA pregnant, watching hentai with the door unlocked, there are plenty of ways to ruin your life in college. So here's a story about the biggest screw-up I've ever met, named Jimmy. Jimmy was basically Steve-O without all the fame and money. He was the ultimate attention-seeking who would do anything in front of a crowd. He climbed fire escapes, punched himself in the balls, got suplexed on beer pong tables, anything to get a reaction out of the people. And right before a stunt, he would always yell, "To the moon!" Not sure why, but with Jimmy I learned not to ask questions and just accept the craziness. Anyway, one day I'm hanging out with Jimmy and a few peeps and I start rolling some weed. I made a little line with a credit card and I'm about to put in the blunt when Jimmy says, "How much would you pay me if I snorted that?" And my eyes lit up. I'm like, "For the whole line? I'll buy you a bottle of Jack Daniels." The problem was I was too excited and Jimmy started to have second thoughts. But I knew Jimmy didn't care about the bottle. He just wanted the attention. So I start chanting, "Jimmy, Jimmy, Jimmy." And now we're all chanting, "Jimmy, Jimmy, Jimmy." I see Jimmy crack a little bit of a smile and he says, "To the moon." Then he puts one hand on the side of his nose, bends over and takes a huge rip. Immediately, Jimmy was f***ed up. He's just moaning, "Oh, oh." And I'm dying. Jimmy keeps trying to blow it out, but he put dry plant matter in a wet nasal cavity. It ain't coming out. So he walks into the bathroom, puts his wallet and phone on the counter, and steps right into the shower. Fully clothed, he's just moaning into the shower head. And I don't know who's crying more, Jimmy from pain or me from laughter. Another time I'm hanging out in the dorm with some peeps when Jimmy comes barreling in. He's like, guys, have you ever tried a gravity bong before? We're like, no. He's like, well, I'm about to blow your mind. I need a 2-liter bottle and a bucket filled with water. I'm like, what do you need a bucket for? He's like, no time. Fill up a bucket and find me a 2-liter. So I get some water, but the only 2-liter we had was an unopened bottle of soda. He's like, you gotta empty this first. I'm like, dude, I'm not just gonna pour out a full 2-liter. He's like, fine, and starts chugging it, stopping periodically to burp and moan. He gets through about 90% of it, and I could tell he's in pure agony. So I just pour out the rest. He's like, okay, we're almost there. So he cuts off the bottom of the bottle, burns a hole in the cap, and stuffs it with a bowl. I'm looking at this contraption, having no faith it would work, but as soon as Jimmy lit the bowl, I was mesmerized. Smoke begins to fill the bottle as Jimmy looks at us and says, to the moon. Then he takes off the cap, inhales, and blows smoke all around the room. Now our dorm is covered in a thick fog, and everyone begins to panic. Jimmy's coughing uncontrollably, and I'm like, guys, what are we gonna do? Hearing all the commotion, the RA comes and knocks on our door. Jimmy, with limited lung capacity, is like, oh tits, I can't get caught. I'm still on probation. So he opens a window, and I'm thinking he's trying to aerate out the place. Nope. He just starts punching the screen till there's enough space to fit through and jumps out. He crashes a story below into a bush and starts wailing. Roommate lets the RA in, who immediately walks to the window to see where all the screaming's coming from. While he was distracted, I sneak out, and as I'm exiting the building, I still remember hearing Jamie's wails in the distance. Somehow, Jimmy doesn't get expelled for this, and a week later, I bump into him in the cafeteria. He's got a walking boot on, and before I could even ask about his injuries, he says, hey, do you still have that 2-liter? I'm like, the one we cut in half? Yep, I think so. He's like, good, bring it over to my place tonight at 8. So I go over Jimmy's place later that evening, thinking he was just gonna make another gravity bong, but it turns out he had grander plans. First, Jimmy takes the 2-liter and starts stuffing the opening with cigarettes. I'm talking like 40 cigarettes. Then he places it on a table next to a beer can, a bowl, and a little line of Coke. I'm like, Jimmy, this might be a little much, even for you. He's like, don't worry, bro. I'll be fine. I'm like, dude, mixing beer, weed, Coke, and cigarettes seems like a really bad idea. He's like, don't forget about peyote. I'm like, peyote? He's like, yeah, I put peyote in one of the cigarettes. You mean the shit that makes you see spirit animals? He's like, yeah, I'm looking to get twisted. I'm like, dude, seriously think about what you're doing for a sec. But before he could respond, people start chanting, Jimmy, Jimmy, Jimmy. Jimmy, with a huge smile on his face, yells, to the moon! Then he snorts the Coke, takes a hit from the bowl, shotguns the beer, and starts lighting the cigarettes. He gets maybe 2 puffs in before dropping it, coughing violently. Everyone's cheering, and I'm thinking disaster averted. That was until Jimmy started talking in tongues. He's just like, at first we thought he was kidding, but it became clear he was actually losing his mind. I walk over to him to see if he was alright, but he just pushes me aside and bolts out the house. With his walking boots still on, he runs into the street yelling nonsense. People at the party are freaking out, yelling, Jimmy, what are you doing? Eventually a car comes and Jimmy jumps up on the hood. The driver panics and floors it in reverse, causing Jimmy to fall back first onto the concrete. That's when I was like, F this, and called 911. Paramedics come, and as they're taking Jimmy away, I'll never forget what he said to me. So whatever happened to Jimmy, well, I have good news. He ended up turning his life around and is now a guidance counselor. I'm kidding. He's dead. But some people need a happy ending, you know? He's okay? Oh, thank goodness. You know me, not being able to deal with reality. The funny part was he made a full recovery from this incident and ended up dying from a drunk driver hitting him. Yeah. Talk about irony. But I guess when your entire life is a car crash, it isn't too surprising. Anyway, the lesson you should take from this video is doing reckless things for attention is a recipe for disaster. So if you're struggling with destructive tendencies, it's important to seek help. But if you're gonna do it anyway, then at least have it on film. To the moon, buddy. Sugar is one of the most addictive substances on the planet. And just like kicking a homeless person, once you start, you just can't stop. But what is sugar? Sugar is when a glucose molecule decides to stick it in a fructose molecule, causing it to have a butt baby of sucrose. Sucrose is a simple carbohydrate, not to be confused with complex carbohydrates. You see, most people would typically group all carbs together, when they're really quite different. Simple carbs are like basic biddies. They'll give you a quick dopamine rush and then immediately ask for a handbag. Complex carbs are like your friend's stepmom. They won't be quick, but you'd be surprised of how long they last. Sugar comes from sugar cane or sugar beets and was originally brought to America by Christopher Columbus. Columbus, that white devil, thought, I have the sugar cane, but no slaves to grow it for me. What to do? I got it. Grow it for me, boy. And boy did he. Those slaves were used to cultivate sugar, which turned into rum, which turned into money, which turned into more slaves, which turned into, you guessed it, more sugar. And over the next couple hundred years, people realized they could add sugar to things like coffee, tea, and chocolate to make it taste better, which led to the first advertisement of Folgers. Taste the suffering. Eventually, research started to come out linking sugar to adverse health effects, but getting rid of it would affect a lot of companies' bottom line. So in the 1960s, some shady people paid Harvard scientists to downplay the link of sugar to heart disease and blame it on fat instead. That way, companies could still make massive profits and more people would die. It's really a win-win if you're a capitalist like me. But in 1972, some British scientist named John Yudkin decided to grow a conscience and sound the alarm that sugar, not fat, was the greater danger to our health. The food industry responded appropriately by destroying Yudkin's reputation and getting his work banned, which just goes to show the free market always works. However, eventually more research came out linking sugar to an increased risk of cancer, cavities, diabetes, obesity, basically anything that makes a person unfuckable. But by this point, the damage is already done. In America, 70% of adults are overweight and 40% are obese. I don't even know how planes can get off the ground with so many pork chops out there. Guess pigs can fly. Now, in fairness, sugar isn't all bad. Your body wants about a fifth of its calories from glucose, so it's not surprising that your brain craves it. The problem is how much sugar you ingest. Like the average male only supposed to consume about 36 grams in a day. Like Bish, that's less than 1 can of Pepsi. That's for the day, let alone any other meal your fat ass is gonna scarf down. And you might think, oh well, the answer is simple. I just won't eat candy or drink soda. But spoiler alert, sugar is in almost everything. Peanut butter, tomato sauce, f***ing Advil has sugar in it. And just like your pastor, companies know to get you while you're young. Breakfast cereals like Cheerios are 32% sugar, Lucky Charms 33%, Quaker Oats, oh, it has oats in it. How bad could that be? 44% sugar. How can you sell something almost 50% sugar to children and not expect some health problems? That's like bringing crystal meth cupcakes to the church bake sale being like, why are so many kids tweaking? You see, there are only about 10 companies that own all the food and drinks in the world. And not surprisingly, the sweeter something tastes, the more likely someone will buy it. My mom fell victim to this and would always buy me things high in sugar. In her mind, she was just being a good parent, not realizing she's napalming my palate. I couldn't even drink water without getting repulsed. And being a dumb kid, I didn't think I was addicted. I was just like, oh, my taste buds must be different. You like water and broccoli, I like Skittles and Pixie Sticks. We're just built different. The only time I was like, wait, something may be wrong, was when I was chilling at my homie's house. We were in the basement practicing wrestling moves on each other. You know, typical heterosexual behavior. Anyway, we eventually both get exhausted and head upstairs for some refreshments. Normally, I'd grab a soda, but my friend only had cranberry juice and water. So I just started chugging cranberry juice, which is wild because I find it disgusting. Like, even though I didn't like the taste, my body knew there was something in this that I desired. Fast forward to college, and your boy was taking a nutrition class where my teacher was like, sugar will fuck you worse than your pastor. I'm paraphrasing, but the gist was this stuff is really bad for you. So I decided to cut it out, but still crave something sweet. So what I did was transfer to Crystal Light, or basically fake sugar, and would slowly wean myself off of it by adding less and less to my drinks, eventually getting me used to the taste of water without being disgusted. But even after this, I still didn't think I was addicted to sugar. That was until I came home from Thanksgiving break and went out to dinner with my mom. At dinner, I decided to have a huge glass of soda, and 4 hours later, I had a massive craving for it. So much so, I'm like, maybe I'll just drive to CVS to pick some up. Then I'm like, bro, what is wrong with me? It's 10 at night. Why do I feel compelled to get a soda right now? And this feeling lasted for days. Like I'd be passing by 7-Eleven, like, what if I just stopped in real quick? Ah, no, you crackhead, stop it, stop it. This is the first of many many occasions where my body would go through long stretches without sugar, eat or drink a ton of it, then go back to having withdrawals, which kind of put other addictions in perspective. Like, I definitely used to make fun of alcoholics, like, oh, not drinking 12 shots of Jaeger must be so difficult. Please, tell me about your disease. But my insults were based on ignorance, because I don't have the addiction gene like many others do. Right now, I have pain and sleeping pills in my medicine cabinet, yet I don't have a desire to do them. Sure, they make me feel good, but like women getting laid, I just don't have the craving for it. So much in life is about luck. Like, I'm sure LeBron James has worked super hard to get where he's at, but if he was born 150 years earlier, the only free throw he'd be shooting is cotton in his master's bag. So don't feel bad if sugar or other substances have a certain amount of control over your life. Because maybe you're surrounded by fast food, or maybe you have a slow metabolism, or maybe the only way you get hard is by smelling a Krispy Kreme. I don't know you or the struggles you go through. But if you need some help quitting sugar, I do got some tips for you. Tip number 1, hate yourself. When you love yourself, you start to let yourself go. That's why fat black women are so happy. And is that what you want? To love yourself? Ew. No. Self-loathing is the first step to having a fit physique. And the more disgusted you are, the less likely you are to eat that bag of Skittles. Tip number 2, learn how to read food labels. Starch, fruit juice, honey, and anything ending in ose is basically sugar in disguise. And don't be fooled by corporate buzzwords. Just because the package says vegan and gluten-free or natural doesn't mean it's good for you. And the biggest thing to look for is added sugar. That's basically a company saying, you don't want to make this yogurt taste better? Some crack. Tip number 3, go cold turkey. It's a lot easier to never do something than to do something in moderation. Think of eating healthy like getting a handy. If you're just getting handies, it's fine. But as soon as you get that one blowy or drink that one soda, it's off the rails. Like, this is great. Why would I ever go back to getting handies or not having sugar or whatever this analogy's about? The point is, if you never have something delicious, then you won't know what you're missing. Tip number 4, replace. Like I mentioned earlier, the way I weaned myself off soda was drinking Crystal Light. Now, that's not to say these fake sugars are good for you. It's like smoking and driving instead of drinking and driving. Sure, one is better, but that doesn't mean the other one's good. One issue I have with these fake sugars is how much sweeter they are than sugar. Aspartame is 200 times sweeter, and sucralose, or Splenda, is 600 times sweeter. This causes some people, like myself, to start to crave that sweet feeling. Like recently, I brought this drink called Body Armor Light. It's 20 calories, some vitamins, and almost no sugar. So I'm thinking, oh, this has got to be good for me. But after drinking one, my body 2 hours later is like, more. I want more. So these sugar alternatives may be good for some, but they're not for everyone. Tip number 5, seek help. Some people, especially guys, view asking for help as a sign of weakness. But really, it's a sign of maturity. It's using the tools and resources around you to help solve your problems. Because what works for you may not work for others. Like a friend of mine lost a ton of weight and credits me for insulting him as the main motivator. But calling someone chicken cutlet titties may not work for everyone. So it's best to seek out the guidance of a medical professional and come up with a plan that works best for you. Because sugar may not be your main issue. Like most addictions, it's about escaping your problems and turning to something that gives you comfort. So maybe sugar is just a coping mechanism for underlying trauma. Or maybe you just like the taste of bread. I don't know. But what I do know is heart disease is the #1 killer in America. And if you think life sucks now, imagine losing your parent to a preventable disease. Yeah, talk about a bad day. Or a great day if you're trying to get inheritance. The point is, if you care about your family, your loved ones, or yourself, then you should work on trying to curb your sugar addiction and live a healthier lifestyle. Woo! That video was a doozy. You know, I always get people being like, why don't you make longer YouTube videos? And I'm like, bro, you think animations are cheap? It's expensive. Plus, I like getting to the juice immediately. You ever watch a video that's like 10 ways to jerk off a banana, and you're like a minute and a half in the video, and they still haven't gotten to the first tip? Oh, really grinds my gears. So that's why I like making short little dopamine trips that are chock full of jokes and ignorance. But big changes are coming to the channel soon. Woo! Your boy's developing his own little offensive merch line, and I'm gonna start experimenting with some IRL videos. So we're gonna see your face? Well, you're gonna see my body, and my body is fucking nice. Tasty. You know why? Because I gave up sugar. That's right. Brought this puppy full circle. I got you some McDonald's, Dad. Oh, Billy, that was really sweet of you. Shh, keep eating. Catching balls, hitting balls, cradling balls. With so many sports out there, which is worth your time? Well, let's discuss which sports are cash and which sports are trash. Starting out with baseball, America's national pastime. They came up with that slogan when black people weren't allowed to play, so I don't think it still applies. Baseball is overall dying as a sport. The median age of a fan is 57. 57 is the average viewer. You know why? Because it's fucking boring. What does right field even do when there's a right-handed hitter? Text their side piece. The only thing I'm catching is these feelings. This is why we need to bring back steroids to baseball. If your neck is under 12 inches, you shouldn't even be allowed in the field. And yeah, your balls may shrink, but all that means is you're less vulnerable to. So until they bring back roids, baseball is trash. Next up, soccer. Now I'm just gonna come right out and say it. Soccer is trash. Offense is the most exciting aspect of any sport. Think about the jubilation after an announcer yells, "Goal!" Such a great feeling. Yeah, but 9% of all games end in 0-0. Soccer has literally the easiest fix too. All you need to do is cut the field in half. It'll greatly increase the amount of goals and make you feel more excited when the ball's in play. Why would he make changes the most popular sport? It's only popular because it's cheap to play. Ethiopia is only worth 15 coconuts. They can't afford hockey pads. Next up, NASCAR. NASCAR is like the Special Olympics. You're not watching it for the race. Driving over 200 miles per hour is exciting. Not when you're just going in a circle, oval, whatever. The point is, there are so many better ways to race, whether it's formula, sport, drift, rally, off-road, war.
Race war!
So until NASCAR goes the Hot Wheels route and starts adding some loops, it's trash. Next up, football. Probably the best sport, if you love concussions. We were complaining before about the lack of offense, but football has only been increasing its offense by taking out all the hard hits. Exactly. Nowadays, a quarterback is like a virgin. You want to get rough, but all you can do is lightly touch, which is ridiculous. Sure, CTE has caused a few husbands to kill their wives, but only like 3 to 4. That's not that bad, considering how many football players are out there. All I'm saying is, how about we wait till we're in double-digit deaths before we start making rule changes? But football is still quite brutal, so it's cash. If football isn't violent enough for you, then rugby may be up your alley. Rugby reminds me of gladiator games. Like over time, people advance and change a sport to make it safer for the competitors, but rugby's like, nah, f*** it, let's just keep fighting lions. Seriously, how the hell do these people not get injured on every play? You're running full sprint into someone with no pads. They're just built different. I guess so. If I stub my toe, I'm done for the day, let alone getting blasted in the sternum by this wildebeest. And who knows what the hell happens in a scrum? I'm assuming eye gouging and your mama jokes. Hey Billy, your mom's still a crack whore? She had a rough life, okay? Next up, basketball. Lots to love here, whether it's blocking shots, shooting from deep, or putting someone on a poster. How my balls smell? It's a good thing basketball exists, because these people are freaks. What do you mean, these people? NBA players. The average player is 6'6", with some as tall as 7'6". Like, what the hell do you do for your job if you're over 7 feet tall? Sit knees to chest in some office cubicle saying, well, have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in? Basketball is technically a non-contact sport, but just like prom, people be getting handsy. Which leads to the biggest downside of basketball, the fouls. Fouls kill the flow and turn it into a glorified game of horse. And everyone who jokes about flopping in soccer hasn't seen basketball. Also, true story, while I was writing this, I Googled how many black coaches there were in the NBA, and it said, I quote, there are 14 blacks who are head coaches in the NBA. Definitely written by a white guy. Oh, 100%. I'm no expert in race relations, but I'm pretty sure they don't like to be referred to as the blacks. But basketball is still pretty entertaining, so it's cash. Next up, the UFC. I'm honestly shocked this sport is relatively new, considering people love watching others get f***ed up. The only thing I disagree with is the fact that there are rules. What do you mean I can't dick punch someone? This is a fight, isn't it? I can maybe understand eye gouging or biting, but aiming for a dude's balls is fighting 101. Maybe you'd get more women in your sport if you'd show them how vulnerable men really are. Ladies, the proper way to defend yourself is if you fake with the left and then uppercut the taint. The biggest downside to the UFC is some fights are over too quickly. It's like bringing home a supermodel and blowing your load too early. All that build-up for very little excitement. Still, having modern-day gladiator games is total cash. Next up, golf, where you basically have to be wealthy in order to play. Crazy to think that the best golfer of all time is a black guy. Why is that crazy? You think country clubs in the 90s were open to all race and genders? Look, Jim, a hole-in-one. As a spectator, golf is probably the worst sport. It's been around for hundreds of years, and there hasn't been one Happy Gilmore. Not one golfer has been like, hey, what if instead of you guys being dead silent, I don't know, you cheer? Even the announcers are quiet. Like, bro, you're in a booth 30 yards away. You know they can't hear you, right? And if any sport needs hecklers, it's golf. Hey, Tiger, I hope this course fucks you like that car fucked up your leg. Mother. So until they add trash talking, golf is trash. And lastly, speaking of white people sports, hockey. I think we all know the best part about hockey. And the punishment for fighting is so strange. Like in every other sport, you'd get heavily fined, suspended, or even fired. But hockey is just like, hey, you guys go think about what you did for 2 minutes. I want to say it's because it's hard to do serious damage when you're slipping and sliding everywhere, but I've seen some bad injuries. Jimmy, pull up someone with a messed up face. Oh, no, I meant from hockey. Oof, that's rough. But disgusting or not, we all know effing people up is cash. So those are all the sports that either cash or trash. If I miss any, please let me know down in the comments. And just remember, Mexico's favorite sport isn't soccer, it's cross country. Dealing drugs, punching a teacher, pouring olive oil on stairs, and pulling the fire alarm. There are plenty of ways to get suspended in high school. So here's a story on how I got suspended. And yes, it involves dildos. It all started this summer before my senior year. I was working a job at my school where me and a bunch of underpaid students would help move around furniture. Basically taking everything from one classroom and moving it to another. Our supervisor was a guy named Pedro and was the only lazy Mexican I've ever met. The dude would bark out orders every day like a slave master. Listen up, I need you guys to take all these desks and move them to the second floor. But Pedro, my back really hurts. Don't talk back to me, boy. The only nice part about the job was I got to see my entire school. Almost every door was unlocked and I got to see where everything was kept. Well, every door except for the principal's office. That wasn't until one day when Pedro says, "All right, kids, we got to move everything from the principal's office to another room." So as he opens the door, I make a mental note of which key he used. You see, this is where I began to hatch my scheme. After that, I really started to watch Pedro. Like DiCaprio at a high school graduation, studying his habits and routine. I noticed that every day at 11 a.m., Pedro would take a lunch break in which he would leave his keys inside the janitor's closet. So one day when he drops off his keys, I quickly grab them, take the one I need, hustle to Home Depot, make a copy, hustle back, replace the key, all without him noticing. As soon as I got home, of course I had to show all my homies. All of them are looking at the key like the first booby they've ever seen. Whoa! Oh my god! It's so hard. So what's the plan? Well, I was thinking we could take everything from Principal Murphy's office and move it to the middle of the track field. Friends were like, genius! Now what I didn't tell my friends is I was also planning on leaving a huge sex toy on his desk. So that afternoon I went to Spencer's and bought the biggest dildo I could afford. The cashier, who's trying not to smile, bags it up and says, "You want the receipt inside?" I'm like, sure, whatever, knowing there's no way I'm gonna return it. Fast forward to senior year and it's a crisp Wednesday morning when the bell rings between second and third period. I'm about 10 feet away from the stairwell when thousands of bouncy balls start to pour out from the ceiling. It turns out a few of my classmates got on the roof, opened up the skylight, and dumped a Hiroshima bomb of bouncy balls. It was pure chaos. People laughing, slipping, huddling for cover. It was beautiful. And this made my principal furious. He went to the PA system basically telling people how irresponsible and potentially deadly this was. That's when I knew it was time for my prank. Because one prank is funny, but two is anarchy. And I really wanted to turn the school into a prison riot. So I gathered up my friends and was like, tonight is when we strike. So at 1:15 a.m., I drive my buddies down to the school. We sneak inside, open the door to the principal's office, and immediately realize there was a huge problem. The desk was way too heavy to move. You see, I'm fucking stupid and didn't realize when I moved it initially, there was nothing inside of it. We couldn't even take out the drawers because they're permanently attached. That's when I said, you know what, fuck it, let's just dump everything on the ground. So we're just throwing files everywhere, which in retrospect was such a terrible idea. Because once the desk was light enough to move, we're all just slipping on the papers. But eventually we get it out of the office and bring it down to the track field. We didn't even bother to make it look halfway decent. Like our original plan was to have everything look exactly like it was before, but we're all just like, screw it. And we just left it a mess and ran back to the car. As soon as we get inside, my buddies are like, let's go, let's go. I'm like, wait, there's one last thing. So I pop my trunk, take out the dildo, run down to the field, place it right in the center of his desk and hustle back to the car. We speed off and my friends are like, what was in that box? I'm like, oh, well, since Mr. Murphy is such a pussy, I decided to buy him a brand new dildo. Fast forward a few hours later and I came to school early. I still remember walking in with a smile on my face as I can see his desk way off in the distance. Once school started, Mr. Murphy comes on the PA and is again furious, saying, last night someone broke into my office and the police are coming to question students. Not gonna lie, when he mentioned the police, I began to panic a little, but overall, I still felt pretty good. That was until sixth period when the overhead announcements came on telling me to come down to the principal's office. Everyone in my class was just like, ooh. So I go to the office and Principal Murphy sits me down and tells me to confess. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. He says, don't give me that bullshit. I know you did this. I'm like, I'm sorry, did what? He says, you know, you're just like your deadbeat sister. And that's when something inside me snapped. I'm like, this motherfucker is trying to bring my family into this? Nuh-uh. So I say to him, wait, what happened to your desk? It looks a little disheveled. He says, I'm not the person you want to fuck with. And I said, hey, I don't see a wedding band on your finger. It doesn't look like anyone's fucking with you. He says, if you don't confess, I'll have you expelled. And I'm like, what evidence do you have? Hearsay from classmates? He says, no, you left the receipt in the dildo box, stupid. And right on the receipt, it says my full fucking name. And I'm like, no, how did this happen? Then I remembered, oh my God, when the cashier said, do you want the receipt inside? I thought he meant inside the bag, not inside the box. But even with overwhelming evidence, I still said, oh, hey, there's my dildo. I've been looking for that everywhere. Needless to say, he doesn't buy it and suspends me for a week, which my mom eventually complained down to 2 days. When I came back to school, everyone treated me like I was the man. And I'm just walking around smirking, going, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Oh, but by the way, did you guys hear Principal Murphy likes big black dildos? So what did I learn from this? Well, 2 things. 1, rebelling against authority is a great way to become popular. And 2, when buying a dildo, never ask for a receipt. You know what you want to do. Oh, you want to push that subscribe button. Oh, push the button. Push the button.